What's going on, you guys? My name is Lane, and welcome back to another episode of Solely Survival. So I've spent some time here just kind of fishing and really just kind of hanging out and taking in the world for a little bit, trying to figure out exactly what else I want to do, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I just kind of wanted to show off what I've changed about this build so far. So around here, around the front, I've added in these flower pots just to add a little bit more color around here. I felt like it needed it. That's really the only place that I added it. I feel like this other side probably could use some things, and maybe the flower pots would work. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But I have spent a lot of time here fishing, and you can probably see the shiny new fishing rod that's there. I actually fished up this mending and unbreaking one, and then a curse of vanishing one, and among many other things here. And I've added in these barrels here along the side just for general storage. So I've got them all pretty well separated. These two will be for the cod and the salmon, and then I've got the tropical fish, and I'm probably gonna put the puffer fish in there as well. And then I've got the fishing rods, and then all the other goods there. And yeah, that's just basically so I can help keep myself a little more organized as I'm doing this, because well, I really don't want to have to keep running back and forth to the house to empty out my inventory, so I figured why not. So that's basically all I've done here since last episode. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and empty out my inventory real quick, and I will meet you guys back up at the house. All right, so back up at the house now, and I just need to figure out what I want to do with today's episode. I'm going to be honest with you, I have not planned a single thing out for this world, other than maybe some future builds that will be like late game stuff. But right now, I've got no ideas. I actually want your input on something. So I've got the fishing area back here, and I've got the starter house here and a little pond here. And I'm trying to figure out exactly what else I want to do on this island that will make sense on this island. This island is supposed to be just a small starter island, and it's apparently bigger than I initially thought it was whenever I deforested it. It is what it is. We're going to work with it now. So I need to figure out exactly what else I want to do with it. I thought about covering it in fields and just calling it good, because I do think this whole island needs a little bit more life, but at the same time, I also think it doesn't need too much, because this island is primarily supposed to just be for me, I guess. But I've got plans for all around this area here, and that's pretty much where I want to start today, is out in, this area specifically. But I do want your input on what I should do around here. Should I do fields? Do you guys have any build ideas in mind that I should do out here? Just let me know in the comments below, because I generally have no idea as to what I want to do with it. So what are the plans for today? Well, the plans for today, well, it's simple. I'm thinking I'm going to make a barn, because why not? At some point, I'm going to need the leather anyway, and I figure I will need the sheep and stuff like that at some point, so I might as well go ahead and start getting, all that together now. So what I'm thinking is I want to build it right over here. This whole area right in here, and probably stretching around here, I want to be more of your rural type builds and stuff like that. So like farms and maybe lumber mills and things like that going throughout here. But for now, I just want to go ahead and start with the barn, which is pretty much the plan for today's episode. This episode is going to primarily be just me building. There might be a little bit of exploration depending on how much time we have, but I am running a little late starting on this one, so I think we're just going to stick with building. And I do actually have some ideas in mind for it. I'm pretty well inspired. So what I need to do is I need to get over here and deforest a lot of this area, and I do need to make a bridge going across here, but that's gonna come later, because I'm not entirely sure where I want all of my roads and stuff to go just yet. I've got a little bit more planning to do on that, but for now I do want to go ahead and start getting a barn put in place over here. I have no idea what kind of pallet I'm using or anything like that. I know what shape I'm using, but I do figure I'm going to change up the palette a little bit, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to go ahead and get over here and start deforesting. What was probably 3 seconds of footage for you guys turned into about 2 hours of me deforesting this whole area. And there's a lot more that needs to be done. Obviously, I still need to get rid of all of this at some point, and then all of this at some point. But right now we're working in this area today, so that's what I am focusing on. And I basically need to go and get all the materials together to actually start this build. I still don't entirely know what the palette is going to be, but I'm going to figure that out. I do figure I'm going to stick something similar to what I do have going over there, but probably leaning away from the birch a little bit and maybe slightly different in style. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I do have a lot of work to do out here, and obviously this area is probably gonna have to be terraformed at some point as well, because I will still need to make a path all the way over there. I'll need to clean up all of that, the podzol and everything. And one thing that I have really noticed back here, and this is something that I'm really trying to play with this season, is well, it's the sight line from this area. I love this sight line. So if this tree wasn't in the way, it would actually be really, really great. I'm thinking once I get, you know, this area here specifically cleared out, you'll be able to see more of the island and it will look a lot better. And from this area, it kind of does inspire a little bit more in me to work on the island, but that won't be a today problem. But yeah, I obviously get a very good view of the fishing dock over there as well. But again, that's probably gonna be changed a little bit over time. But sightlines is something that I'm really trying to focus more on as well. Obviously, as I have stated like 6 other times in the last 3 episodes, I really just want to focus on things that I can do differently and improve my builds and my overall experience in my world. So that's what we're going with. So I do need to go ahead and start getting materials together and whatnot. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use just yet, so I'm going to kind of rummage through what I have over there. I'm going to go ahead and take pretty much all of this back for the time being, except for maybe a stack of sticks and this cobblestone for more tools, which I'm going to address the tool situation probably in next episode, because I am quite sick of the stone tools. I know I have a few diamonds. I can use those right now, but I'm taking my time. I want to just kind of enjoy the process a little bit more. So I'm going to leave the diamonds where they are for now, and I think that is where we sit with this. So I'm going to take all of this junk back, and I am going to rummage through some chests, see what all materials I can find and scrounge together, and see what kind of color palette I can come up with. If it leads me away from here to get materials, I will let you guys know. Otherwise, I will update you guys here in a minute whenever I have something figured out. Alright, so I've got a color palette picked out now, and I've pretty much got an idea picked out for the actual build itself, though that is subject to change. But I am planning on using the same kind of color palette that I've been using over there, with all the spruce, the dark oak, the birch, and the stone stuff down there. And I really like that palette. It's something that's really grown on me, so I think I plan on sticking with it for now. But as we move out through these other areas, the palette will change and kind of evolve around as, you know, we progress, because in these other areas I've got other things planned. I'm just thinking with this area being, well, the more rural area of, well, our base, I kind of wanted to stick with what we have going over here. And I think that would just kind of overall fit the vibes a little bit more, because this has more of that cozy, like, I guess, country-ish vibe, almost. I don't really know if that's the kind of word I want to use for that, but it's what I'm going with. And I think using that idea for a barn would actually be kind of cool. So now I just need to go and get materials together. By that, I mean a lot more dark oak, a lot more spruce, and I'm gonna need a ton of stone. So it's time to go ahead and get started. I will see you guys here in a bit. Alright, so I am finally done getting the resources together, and it's time to go ahead and start this build. Before I get started, I just want to go ahead and say that I am sick of using these stone tools. I am absolutely over it. Next episode, it's going to be addressed. I can't stand it anymore. But yeah, enough complaining. I'm going to go ahead and get started on building this thing. In this series, I kind of want to steer away from doing the time lapses, but I'm going to admit that this build is kind of based off of a build from season 1, It's pretty much the same build that I did over there, but I'm using a much different color palette, and the surrounding area is going to be totally different, so it's going to have a totally different vibe. But because I'm basically building the same structure, I don't see a point in just kind of walking you guys through every bit of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with it in a good old-fashioned time lapse. Here we go. All right, so the barn is finally done, and I have to admit, I am very happy that I am finally done putting this thing together. Putting it together actually didn't take too long, but in spirit of total honesty here, I actually spent the entirety of yesterday building a barn to put out here, and I was not happy with it whatsoever. And it got to the point that I couldn't stand to look at it, and I tore it all down, and I started back over today with the design that I used back in last season with this one. But as you can see, if you've been sticking around since last season, I changed the color palette here, so it kind of fits more or less with what we have going on over there, with all the birch and the spruce and the dark oak and the stone and everything. And I actually am a very big fan of this. I don't know about you guys, but I am just really, really loving this. And I don't really know what else to say about it. So I need to get some animals moved in, and that will be happening here in just a minute. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys what I mean about the sightlines just one more time. So this is the view of the barn from the starter house. And this is basically sitting right out here in my front yard. If I'm right here on the front porch, you can get a really good view of it. And in my opinion, when you look out over there, this build looks like it is meant to be there. And you have a direct line of sight to it. It's not obstructing anything. Nothing is obstructing it. And it just looks like it is fitting in. Now, there's a couple of other things that I do plan on adding around that area at some point. It's not going to be this episode. I simply don't have the time or the resources to do that right now. What I have got planned is for there to be a wheat field going around the sides down here, and maybe another build here, and then some scattered on throughout the area. And then there's going to be a path leading all the way down here and a bridge leading over, and all of this connecting up like it should. But again, I don't have the time or the resources to do all of that right now, so that's probably going to be held off for another episode or two, but it will get done. But yeah, that's the plan, is to do that and just to kind of liven up the area a little bit. And once we get that, we can really start worrying about every other build that's gonna get put out here. I've got no idea what else is gonna get put out here. I'm thinking maybe a windmill or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But since we're back over here at the starter house, I need to grab a lead, and I need to go ahead and start moving some of these farm animals over here into the barn itself, because why not? Alright, so the animals have been moved in, and, well, I've got pretty much all of them except for the chickens. For some reason, I didn't see any over on our island like I seen, well, the rest of these. So that's kind of weird. Gonna have to figure out where some are and then get them put in here. But I do have several cows, I've got several sheep in here, and I've got several pigs. So that means I go ahead and start breeding these guys and start trying to get things in order for future builds and future, necessities like the leather from these guys and the wool from these guys, stuff like that. But that's something that I can deal with another day. I am actually running completely out of time to finish up this episode. Otherwise, I would be doing probably a few more things. I realize this episode might be a little bit shorter than normal, and there's not really a lot of progress made, which I think is kind of the point of the series, I guess. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's about time to wrap up this episode. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to show your support by liking the video, commenting down below, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. My name is Lane, and I will see you guys in the next one.